Bats is needing more than just a Band-Aid. You should look at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse, Dark Knight's Metal, Batman the Infected. Born from the nightmares of the dark multiverse, the Batman of Earth -22 started out very much like the Batman we know. However, on Earth -22, he becomes infected when nanotoxins from the Joker's heart are released into Batman's bloodstream, causing the Dark Knight's perfect mind to merge with the warped psyche of the Clown Prince of Crime. He soon transforms into his final form, the Batman Who Laughs, and becomes part of an attempt to plunge the entire multiverse into an ultra-violence chaos and utter darkness. Before we start examining what's pumping in Bruce's bloodstream, let's grab the tape measure just to see how tall the figure stands. Batman the Infected stands, considering counting his ears, of course. The figure's about 6.5 inches in height, or the figure's going to be about 17 centimeters tall. And then perhaps a taste of things to come. Here's what he looks like with the Batman Who Laughs. Now, in this case, Batman the Infected is taller than the Batman Who Laughs, but to be fair, this is the original version 1, the one that didn't come included with the wings. So this Batman Who Laughs is a little bit shorter. Here's what he also looks like next to Superman in the Infected. I thought we would stick to a theme here. And again, when you're looking at the proportions and the sizing, Batman the Infected in the middle is the tallest of the three compared here. For the things that come included with Batman the Infected, you get yourself a trading card, you get yourself a display stand, you get yourself a rather large Batarang. Picking up first the trading card to examine what we get here. Now, in this case, once again, they're using the figure photography, which is fine. They've actually done a decent enough job of actually blurring out some of the figure's features, so it does actually kind of look like it was pulled from a comic. Down below it, you can see it's Batman on Earth -22, the Infected, from Dark Knight's Metal. If we flip the card around, the real name is still the same. It's Bruce Wayne. And then there's a paragraph read. You can either pause and read for yourself, or it's also the same thing I read at the very beginning of this video. How about that? How about that indeed? Put that to the side. The figure also comes included with a black display stand. Psst, with the DC logo branded down below. One singular peg, once again, we're greeted with at the very top corner of the display stand. That's going to attach to either one of Batman's feet, as he does have peg holes on either sides of his heels. I'm going to move that to the side. The figure also comes included with a pretty cool looking Batarang. It kind of reminds me of the Batman cartoon. Anybody remember the Batman cartoon? I actually just, in fact, watched Batman vs. Dracula the other day with my daughter. I thought it would be a scarier movie, and yet she seemed to love it. It kind of does remind me of the Batman logo. I do like the way they've actually colored it in a lime green color. It's not quite the same green. The one that's actually on his outfit is just a tad bit lighter, but it does fit actually into the figure's hands. He does have two hands, but one of which is actually more of a gripping or mauling hand. The other one really is the hand for holding accessories. Let's go ahead and do that right now. You take the Batarang, you could fit it into his hand, and even though the Batarang, once again, is going the thicker routes, I don't know why again, let me just pick up the Batarang that I just dropped onto the floor. While it is a bigger, thicker Batarang, it still manages to fit into Batman's hands, whether he's infected or not. By the way, there is no other place on the figure that you can actually house the Batarang. Let's go ahead and just move that to the side and try not to drop it again. Getting a closer look now at Batman the Infected. I love this figure. First of all, one thing I really like about the figure is the proportions of it. It's very lanky. Everything on him is really exaggerated. Right down to, first his head sculpt, before we kind of get ahead of ourselves and start looking at anything else. Before we get ahead of ourselves, let's actually look at the head sculpt of Batman the Infected. Now, you can see as well, the Joker influence is already now starting to affect Bruce's body by the fact he has a big smile on his face. Very low-looking eyes. I like the mean demeanor that they've actually sculpted on his face. I also even like the way they've curled the ears. They probably would have been straight before. But everything on Batman is now starting to get affected. I mean, certainly when you're looking at his body, like I said, his proportions seem to start getting more leaner here when we're getting to this body. One thing I will say, though, about it, if you look at the arms, you look at the abdomen, you look at the arms here, and you look at the lower legs, they seem to be a darker kind of bluish purple than what we actually get right here. The way they've also wrinkled this section here, it also looks like this is a separate piece altogether, which it literally is, but it doesn't look like it completely gels together, as this looks like it's clearly a separate piece from everything else. I do like the way, again, they've got the bright, very bright lime green colored emblem here on the front. It stretches from pretty much one side of his torso to the other. And also that same color gets carried over to his cape. I love the way the cape is torn like this. Chunks of it have been just ripped away, and even like the whole bottom of it is frayed and torn and tattered. Love the look of this cape. It's a really, really neat cape they designed on this. But again, when you're looking at the hands and everything, his nails, his length of fingers all seem very exaggerated. And one of my favorite things about this figure is the way they've actually made the batarang, or the actual pockets of his bat utility belt, a little bit longer. I mean, look at how abnormally long those pockets actually are. They're not of the same size either, so some of them actually neighboring the other ones seemed a little bit longer. So like the ones here on the back are a little bit longer than the ones to the front. I like the use of the yellow that they used here as well. The emblem also is a little bit different here on the front belt buckle than what we actually get here at the top of his body. He's got some additional straps of yellow also added in there as well that match the colors of his utility belt. And overall, like, it's just a really fun looking figure. Even though I really like the Batman Infected, or Superman Infected, I really like the Batman Infected a whole lot more. There's nothing really, again, I would have really fixed his figure. The colors are really good. The head sculpt is fantastic. Really a devilish looking Bruce. The only thing, again, maybe the one thing I would have fixed is this part right here. Just because, again, like, it looks fine to match the arms and it matches the legs, but it doesn't quite match the torso. The texturing and sculpting is completely different. It's almost as if it's from two completely different figures. Anyways, for the articulation here for Batman the Infected, the head rotates all the way around. It's on ball joint after all. Head does look up, actually pretty good as well. The head can also look down, really low and sinister. You can also rock the head back and forth as well. I went for a dramatic pause there. Head also rocks back and forth as well. So again, if you want to have Batman looking as if he's got something on his devilish mind, you can do that as well. The arms do rotate technically, in theory, all the way around. Although you'll notice the top of the cape, because it stretches across his shoulders, it's going to be a little bit harder to get those arms all the way around, but it still succeeds. You can also as well take the arms and you can hinge them out. Although I did notice on this arm, I'm going to probably have to heat it up with hot water. Didn't want to do that on camera and have that break. But yeah, the arms do hinge out at a comfortable 90-degree angle bend, provided you can actually relax, get that one shoulder to actually move. The arms do move forward and back. Like I say, he does have a swivel in his bicep. The figure also possesses a double hinge on his elbow. Also has rotation in his hand. You can hinge it back and forth. Now, the upper torso is on 2 points of articulation. The top part, just below the emblem, is in one ball joint, but then just below in the abdomen area, just before we actually get to utility belt, he has a secondary ball joint as well. You can rotate that all the way around. Legs do split out. There seems to be still a ratcheted joint on the inside of the thigh. You can take then the legs and move them forward, and you can move them back. Just a mild swivel at the top as well, more of the way it was assembled in the factory. You can have a double hinge as well in the knee. No real articulation in the boot. It seems like the boot is probably just a continuation of the sculpting that they did for the calf. So you can't rotate the boot back and forth. However, though, you can still move the feet back and forth, up and down this way, and an ankle pivot this way as well. It's also toe articulation as well. Love the toe articulation. Overall, just a great looking Batman figure. I'm really, really happy that I did pick this one up. And again, just to get this guy to stand, if you're having any difficult time to get the figure to stand, it always seems to be the case that when we start wrapping up near the end of these videos, is whenever the figure now starts to give me difficult times to stand. You know what? Display stand's there. We might as well use it. Attaching the display stand to the bottom of Batman's body. There we go. And once again, we can bring in the Batman Who Laughs. While I do love the look of Batman Who Laughs, I gotta say, like, I'm leaning a little more to liking this one, just that little bit more. The colors are so cool on this figure. The bright greens that they went with against the backdrop of that dark purpley blue really makes for a great looking Batman figure. It's not your traditional Batman, no, but if you do like the sinister idea, of course, Batman now having Joker's blood pumping through his bloodstream, and I really like the look of this one. It might be a figure that's well worth picking up if you can find it. Here on this channel, we do review a lot of DC Multiverse figures, don't we? Now, when I'm picking them up, I usually am picking them up for the purpose of reviewing them for you guys, and then I'm also picking up figures in some of the cases that just because I like the look of the character design. Batman Infected I would have picked up either way, because of course I did want to show you guys how great this figure looked, but for a personal collection, I also would have picked this figure up just from the love of looking at this figure. I I love the demonic smile on Batman's face. Bruce, you can see, is given way. I mean, most of Joker now is completely taken over. The dark colors that they've used for the purpley blue, the bright green, the way it pops on the emblem and on the cape, and also how they included the Batarang to match that same color scheme, and how really everything on Batman now looks lankier. You would imagine it's still Bruce's body, and yet with the blood now pumping Joker, he starts to seem like he's almost taking up a bit of Joker's proportions, the way he's a little leaner in the legs, a little more lankier in the arms, and a little more looser in the torso. Again, when it looks to the torso, like the torso has this wrinkling that they did put in the ab area. It's nowhere else on the top of the torso. It does look a little jarring, but the rest of the figure comes together really nicely. I'm really glad that I did actually pick this one up. And like I said, even if I wasn't reviewing these figures, I would still be picking up Batman Infected for how neat the figure turned out. I did actually find this one over on Entertainment Earth, so if you guys are interested and haven't had any luck whatsoever to find Batman the Infected, I can put the link down below in the video description. That will take you on over to Entertainment Earth's website. What do you guys think of the figure? Let me know down below in the comments section whether you've had the chance to pick them up or just based on this review, is this a figure that you would consider picking up for your collection? Also as well, if you enjoyed this video, hit it with a like. If you're loving the content you're seeing and do want to certainly stick around for more, because well, we have wrapped up the review right now for Batman the Infected. There will definitely be more to come your way, but make sure you hit the subscribe button down below, yes. Making sure as well you're turning on the bell notifications, sure. Making sure that you are coming back to this channel on a regular basis, because Monday to Friday we've got videos popping up daily. Like I said, with many more to follow. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.